Hi, best friends. I'm Tabby.
And I'm Caitlin, and today we are discussing Corrupt by Penelope Douglas.
My God, this is the second time I'm reading this book, and it's been probably 6 years
And did it scare
since
you?
I've read it. Yes, I was like, oh my good God. Like, I hope I was as shook the first time I read this as I was this time around.
Yeah,
Or
no, it
maybe I'm
was.
just getting really old. I don't know.
I did kind of wonder if I was just kind of being like a little bit of an old woman with some of my complaints. And I'll let the listeners tell me if
It's just
I'm
like, God, who let
am
these kids out of their basement?
yeah, like oh my God, kids these days, you know what I'm saying? Even though this was written a while ago, wasn't it?
No.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids these days, we were
Fucking
literally
kids, dude.
teenagers in 2015. Before we rate this book, as always, I'm going to read for you the back of the book on Goodreads. So this is like split into like two perspectives. It starts with Erica and then it goes to Michael. So, Erica. I was told that dreams were our heart's desires. My nightmares, however, became my obsession. His name is Michael Christ. My boyfriend's older brother is like that scary movie you peek through your hand to watch. He is handsome, strong, and completely terrifying. The star of his college's basketball team and now gone pro, he's more concerned with the dirt on his shoe than me. But I noticed him. I saw him. I heard him. The things that he did and the deeds that he hid. For years, I bit my nails, unable to look away. Now I've graduated high school and moved on to college, but I haven't stopped watching Michael. He's bad, and the dirt I've seen isn't content to stay in my head anymore because he's finally noticed me. Michael. Her name is Erica Fane, but everyone calls her Rika. My brother's girlfriend grew up hanging around my house and is always at our dinner table. She looks down when I enter a room and stills when I'm close. I can always feel the fear rolling off of her, and while I haven't had her body, I know that I have her mind. That's all I really want anyway. Until my brother leaves for the military and I find Rika alone at college, in my city, unprotected. The opportunity is too good to be true, as well as the timing, because you see, 3 years ago, she put a few of my high school friends in prison, and now they're out. We've waited, we've been patient, and now every last one of her nightmares will come true.
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's so fun. This whole book was just based off of a crazy assumption.
And that's why they say you should never assume. It makes an ass out of you and me.
And then you go to jail.
And then you go to jail and die.
They did almost die. Things escalated really fast.
Yeah, they really like, okay, that's such a fair point because I feel like we started and things, and with like the flashbacks and stuff, it was kind of like slow moving. And then all of a sudden, like when you get to the end and it's like, oh, we're only in the present now, shit hit the fan real
Like, where
quick.
did we all get guns?
What? Oh, you guys brought a gun? What would you rate this book?
I'm just, again, kind of doing like a combo from the first time I read it to now.
Mhm.
I still really liked this book. Penelope Douglas does things that other people just aren't willing to write about.
Yeah,
And I do have to give her props for that. Like,
I respect it.
she didn't give a fuck at all.
And maybe she
And
should.
maybe she should have. I don't know, but I respect her hustle. I gave it an 8.35 out of 10, which is
That's,
pretty, I feel like that's really high still.
yeah, no, that is.
Um, and I don't know if it should be that high.
I get it
I
though.
had really liked this book series when I read it the first time, but here's the thing. After I reread the first one, I like all of the other ones way better.
Okay, cool. I'm excited because I haven't
Yeah.
read these yet.
Like, this was not the strongest book in the series,
Okay,
and that's phenomenal.
fair enough. Yeah, I love it when things only get better, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I rated this book somewhat highly, like high average. I rated it 7.8 out of 10. Because I did have a lot of bones to pick. However, I was entertained throughout the entire book. I kind of felt like I was reading a twisted version of Gossip Girl.
Yeah,
And I'm here for that because I loved Gossip Girl.
I do too.
And Gossip
And
Girl was twisted in its own way, to
you know
be
what?
quite
They
honest
let a
with you.
lot of things slide in Gossip Girl.
Yeah, and this wasn't that far off from it. Like it felt like Gossip Girl, but just a little more violent.
hmm So you know that book Credence that's about like the girl and her step uncle and
I have
step-cousin.
heard of it.
Penelope Douglas also wrote that.
Oh, okay. So she does write things that no one else will
So
write.
yeah, no, she's just really pushing the limits of modern romance. Um,
Interesting. Romance.
if we'll call it that, it was not romantic.
No.
No, these people, they deserve to be in prison, truly.
And they
Um,
deserve each other
and they
as
do.
well.
And I'm glad they're just keeping it within their little circle there because we don't need
Yeah.
to spread that out much farther.
Don't bring any innocent people into
Yeah.
this.
Mm-mm.
You just keep to yourselves. That's yeah,
That's
that's fine.
fine. Let's talk about Rika.
Okay, first of all, the nickname Rika is stupid.
So foul.
It's like, how did she not get made fun of other kids growing up? Because I can just picture the children being like, "Oh, Eureka, you stink."
I do feel like they didn't like her growing up because
Yeah.
every time, like, she'd be like, when, like in the epilogue when Michael's picking her up, they're like, they were making fun of my scar. It's like, I feel like you're probably a cunt. Like, I
I
don't
don't
think you're
trust you.
probably nice.
Well, there's
She's
this
like
like
very judgmental.
she is, and it's so funny because there is a point when she's like befriended Alex at this
Oh my
point.
God. Yeah, I have that
And
as a
she's
top.
like, she has this whole like internal monologue of like, maybe I was being judgmental. Maybe she really is cool and I was being a bitch. It's like, yeah, okay, you were. I'm glad you're self-aware, I
And then
guess.
right after she has this whole internal dilemma about whether or not she likes Alex, Alex is like, "Oh yeah, and I also sleep with people for money." And she's just like, "God, like fucking scum of the earth, couldn't
Yeah.
be me. Like, I hate that you have to do that to yourself." And she's
Well,
like,
this
"Oh
is
no, I
like,
like it."
yeah, this is like after that even. Like she
Yeah.
must have multiple. And it's like, I'm glad you're growing, I guess, but like, girl.
No, there were just multiple times like where she was judgmental towards Alex twice. She was like, "You don't have to live this way. Like, let me take you away from this place."
Baby girl.
And Alex is like, "Girl, no, like I'm actually doing so good. You know what? I have money in my bank account right now. Do you
Yeah.
have money in your bank account?"
No, you
No.
don't, because you got it
No.
stolen by your
Um,
shitty boyfriend.
and then like when she's trying to get into that stupid fucking men's club and the guy was like, "No, ma'am, like I will not tell you where these young gentlemen are dining this evening. Like you're not
Yeah.
allowed in here." And she's like, "Do you know who I fucking am?
I'm gonna
Like
get you
I'm
fired.
gonna get you fired. Like you better count your fucking days." Like that's so crazy. That was so entitled and privileged and
Yeah. You know what, though? Like, it's funny because at first, whenever I was like thinking about it, I was like, yeah, but I liked her okay. You know, I'm not sure I did
no.
because she was just extremely ignorant and
And whiny.
privileged. And again, it makes sense because she grew up very sheltered and privileged, but like you need a reality check, girly, and I don't think she's ever gonna get it. But
You
I do
don't.
like her spunk because my jaw dropped when she stabbed Damon. I was like, hell yeah,
Yeah,
brother.
girl, she grew a fucking backbone.
I did really like that part. I thought that was
Like
fun.
stab Michael next. Don't let him push you around
Yeah,
like that.
stab them all, girl. Like, why'd you stop at one?
Now, I will say, I do feel a little bit bad for her because her situation does sound pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Like her dad died very traumatically. She was there when it happened. I hate that. And like her mom was not a good mom.
Mm-mm.
Christiane is not a good mom.
No.
But I also blame every single adult in her life for not stepping in. They're like, "Oh, Christine's drunk again." That's okay,
Yeah.
Rika. We actually just made a home. Like you have a bedroom here now. Like ignore your mom. She may choke on her vomit. I don't know. That's not our
Yeah,
problem,
and then
but
you'll be an orphan. Aw.
and then we'll just adopt you. Like until
Yeah.
you're of legal age, and then we'll marry you off to our son.
Yeah, they should have been doing more because they had the resources. Clearly, they had the resources because Michael does send her to rehab.
Yeah. This is
Um,
no, they're billionaires.
so like why was no one intervening? I don't know.
Mrs. Christ is a bad friend
Yeah, she is, and she just like
and a
turns a
bad
blind
mom.
eye to everything. She pretends that her husband's not cheating on her. She pretends that her children aren't
Psychopaths.
psychopaths, and one of them is literally an attempted
Oh
murderer.
my God. Like in the epilogue, when she's like, "Well, I guess he really showed his true color." Girl!
I hated the epilogue. We'll get
Like,
there though.
what? Anyway.
Yeah, agreed.
Talk about
Uh,
Michael.
Michael, can we just say the very first introduction we get to Michael is hilarious, and I don't think it intended to be.
It was
So
so cheesy.
Rika is at this party for Trevor, her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend is going away. And she's like, oh, he won't be there. He won't be there. And like, we're like, who is he?
Who
Who's this
is
mysterious man?
he?
But guess what, guys? He is there. And he's sitting in a chair wearing a suit with a basketball on his thigh in the middle of a party. Like, you could just
And
leave
that's
it.
to symbolize that he is a basketball player in the
Yeah.
NBA.
Guys, I don't know if you know this, but he plays basketball. Like, brother,
I
leave the
shit
ball at
you
home.
not. When I read this book the first time, I was like, oh, maybe I read the back of this wrong, and this is like a sports romance. And
Uh-uh.
like I got it twisted. No, the sports do not matter. They could have completely written that out and it would not have affected the story even a little bit.
It probably would have made it better because he wouldn't have had a basketball on his thigh for no reason.
His whole like the whole thing with them being basketball players, like in the flashbacks, like okay, I still think it's a little weird that that was like their thing. Like they
Yeah.
wreaked havoc because they're basketball players.
Yeah, like star basketball players.
Okay.
Okay.
And Michael was
Okay.
like, I just want to play ball, Dad.
He was
Like,
Troy
oh my
Bolton.
God.
He's Troy Bolton. We're
Grow
giving him too
up.
hard of a
And
time.
then he kept missing practice in the NBA. I was like, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, you probably can't. Like, I don't think it matters how rich you are at that
Yeah,
point.
like they don't want you.
Yeah, it was not adding to the story. It was silly. I didn't like it. Like, you could have just made him rich and influential and it would have served the same purpose.
Michael, out of all of them, even like knowing nothing, even over Damon, Michael's still my least favorite because he's boring.
He's very boring.
'Cause
He's not fascinating at
did
all.
you go to prison? No. You let your friends go to prison, and then your dad got you out of it.
He just is fine. And so is Erica.
'Cause
She's just
they
fine.
deserve each other.
And that's fine. Yeah, whenever I was reading it, I was honestly surprised that he was the leader of their
I
little crew
know.
because I was like, based on these dynamics, like,
Clearly,
kind
Kai is the
of,
smartest out of all of
Kai's the
you.
smartest and he should
Damon
be the
should have been
leader.
running it.
Damon could have just by brute force, but I think it makes more sense for Kai, like for the brains of the operation
Yeah.
to be like the leader. I don't know what Michael is. He's not the smartest, he's not the strongest.
He's the richest.
I guess that's what it is. Yeah, he's the
He
richest, so
had the
he's in charge.
funds to make it happen.
Yeah, and then in the epilogue, we learn that like he's kind of the reason for Devil's. Well, I mean, he's the one who brings up Devil's Night to them for the first time, so I guess
Yeah.
that's why he's. But then it's like he kind of was the leader of their friend group too, so I don't know.
Right. All I'm saying is that it was very like captain of the team vibes, and
Hmm.
then like he just never really grew up. And like I could
Yeah.
say the same for all of them, like especially Damon, which we'll talk about him next. Like throughout the book, he's like, I just want things to go back to the way they were in high school. You are a goddamn adult
The only thing I'll say is at least they have an excuse, those three, because
because
like
they had a good time.
they had a good time, but what I was gonna say is they didn't grow up because as children they got sent to prison for
They
three
were in
years.
prison.
So like
Yeah,
they didn't get a chance to like
that's
grow up.
true.
I mean, they had to grow up in a lot of ways that
Yeah,
matter, but mentally they're kind of like stuck
that's fair.
in their glory days. But Michael, what's your excuse?
Yeah, dude, you got to live your life. Let's talk about Damon.
Hmm.
Let's dive into Damon
He's
because he
scary.
is, surprisingly not the villain here.
Hmm.
He is bad, but
Yeah.
he is not the true villain here. If anything, it sounds like he is a victim.
Yeah, so originally I was like, I cannot forgive this man's transgressions. And then I kind of felt bad whenever it's like, oh, he actually was abused. Like, and okay, that doesn't explain away everything that he did. But,
Because he was saying some fucking wild shit.
and I have to hope that he's going to grovel for his friend's forgiveness, and I have to hope that he is
He's
going
not a
to
groveling type.
apologize. No, he's not, but I don't know what's going to make me forgive him. We'll see.
So many things happen that I can't even pick one. But it starts off like Rika's like, every time he comes in the room, I'm scared. I'm like, yeah, I'm like a little scared too. Like,
Hmm.
Stu's giving me bad vibes. But then when it's like flashing forward to them at the party and like they take her to Sticks, I was like, oh, maybe he's like not that bad because he did stand up for her and
Hmm.
I liked that. I was like, cool. Okay. But then he's like, yeah, no one can fuck with you but us. I was like, okay, like that's cool. And like the same thing happened when they were in the classroom. Like he
Hmm.
stood up for her. And I was like, I cannot get quite the read on
Yeah, because he
what
also
your angle is
threatened
here.
to kill her mother, like in the
Yeah,
same
which
five
was
minutes.
crazy.
So I don't know.
And then like when he kidnapped her after the fucking party and was like forcing himself on her, I was like, oh my God, like get off of her. What the hell?
We're really
And
hot and cold here.
I was like, I don't know what's going on anymore. And like he just would say the craziest stuff. Like, oh, it was after he had gone to the Ashby's house, Mayor Ashby's house,
Hmm.
and like slept with Winter and was being really weird about it. But at some point had made the comment like, if they're old enough to crawl, they're in the right position. And I threw up in my mouth.
I bombed.
Like, I was so flabbergasted.
Yeah, because why the fuck would he say
And like
that?
I know he wasn't serious, I don't think, but like what a crazy thing to say. Even the guys were like, "Bro, like
It's
that's a bit
wild.
far."
Yeah, it's wild because like I don't think that he meant it, but then why would you say that?
But then also it's like you did just go to jail for being a fucking predator, so
Yeah, I don't know. Like I can't get a read on him. I think he scares me a lot.
which it does sound like the Torrances and the Ashbys have some beef.
They
So
sure
like
do.
there's some extenuating circumstances, I'm sure, but like
Hmm.
you're not helping yourself, man.
No, he scares me. I like I said, I don't know how if it's even possible for me to forgive him.
Really,
I
what I
don't
thought
know.
was going to happen at the end was that they were going to throw Will in and he was going to have a moment of clarity and like dive in after him and be like, no, don't touch my friends. But instead, he's like curb stomping Kai into the boat and like,
No, yeah, you're right. I was waiting for the whole time I was waiting for him to be like, haha, got you, Trevor, and then
and then
like, you
shoot
know,
him. Like,
yeah. But that didn't happen. So I again, like, I
no,
just don't know if I'm going to ever
they
forgive
murdered
him.
Trevor and then he ran.
Yeah, he was like, oh shit, oh God.
Oh, like, okay.
I don't know. Like it seems like at this point it seems like there's nothing that could redeem him.
Yeah, no, no. I want to talk about Kai. I'm in
Let's
love
talk
with
about him.
Kai, I fear.
So yeah, he is, don't get me wrong, he is also scary and fucked up.
I love him.
However, like you can tell that he did not want to be like consumed by the rage, but he felt like obligated to avenge his brothers. And
Yeah.
he even like admits that to Rika. He's like, I was never a vengeful person, but I saw them break in
Hmm.
prison and it turned me into a monster.
And like I think his sense of right and wrong is definitely better than probably any of theirs,
Oh yeah,
honestly.
he seems
Like
like he's got it the
even
most
Michael.
lined up. Oh,
Um,
more than Michael, yeah.
yeah. No, like he knows.
Hmm.
He knows. I just don't think he cares until
I
he
just think
does.
he feels so indebted to his brothers
Yeah.
that he like that's what he always is going to prioritize,
Yeah,
even
and
when it's not the
I
right thing to do.
can respect that. I can.
Yeah.
And I also just felt so bad for him because like he clearly had some inner demons that he was really fighting and I was rooting for him the whole time. There was never a point
Yeah.
where I wasn't because he loved Rika and I feel like he still loves Rika even though like he was kind of joking. He's like, I'm just kidding. Like I don't actually want to fuck you. He's like, but what if we did?
And then they did.
But then again, after that, she's like, hi, like, I love Michael. He's like, yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. But like, what if you
Oh yeah, when they were
didn't?
alone. Yeah, I do. I want something else for him though.
I
I
want
want
something
something that's
better than
not
her.
Rika. Yeah.
But
And I'm
like,
excited to read more about him because he just bought like some mysterious Victorian style
yeah,
home. Like how iconic.
I truly, like I said, I've read these books before. Kai's is one of my favorites.
I'm
His
excited.
book is very interesting. It's very sad. It's very not controversial, but like. I don't know. It just
Well,
really,
this one was, so
yeah,
wouldn't be
it
surprised.
makes you consider like a lot of things. So I do like Kai's book a lot, and I'm
Which
excited
book
to read
is
it.
his?
It's the next one. It's
Oh,
Hideaway.
cool. Okay, cool.
So we get
Excited.
to learn more about his spooky little house.
Yay!
Okay. Precious, precious, precious Will.
Although he is on my shit list
No, no,
because
no.
in the flashbacks, he calls Rika little one, and he's the one who starts the little monster thing. And
That's
I'm like,
fair.
that's gross. Hate that.
Listen, Will, in my eyes, can do no wrong. And I feel like he has just been led so astray and he can't think for himself,
He's so
really. And
dumb.
yeah, like he's just been so influenced, especially by Damon. I feel like he's closest to Damon more than anybody.
Hmm.
And like just didn't know what to think. And I think as soon
Yeah.
as like he figured it out and like Rika said it straight, he was like, "My bad, guys. Like truly from the bottom of my heart, like my bad."
No, literally, because after she finally is like, you guys are fucking idiots. It wasn't my fault. And they're all like, oh, fuck. So then they throw this party and she's like, are you fucking serious? So she goes downstairs and Will was like, yeah, we're really sorry about that. Do you want ice in your tequila
He's like, "We're
or
doing
we're
shots."
doing shots? I
And like
laughed
the next
so hard.
morning when he's like serving her breakfast and he was like, "Shut up. Like let me do this for you. Like sit down.
I just
Get out
think
of
like
here."
he's a little himbo and he
He's a little
genuinely is
himbo.
so stupid. Like, I don't think it's
And
his fault.
I hate that they didn't check in on Will more. Like Michael was like, "Oh my God, Rico almost drowned." Blah blah. It's like, hey, Will almost drowned as well.
Yeah.
Like for longer than Rika did. Like he was treading water for a while.
Oh my God, Rico would have not survived
No,
that.
she would not have made it. That's a true testament to Will's strength. Just the fact that he also moved into Rika's apartment because he needed to be close to them. I was like, that is a cry for help.
Oh my God, and nobody like checked
That is
up
a
on
cry for
him.
help. And this man is drinking himself to death.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're
like,
making
someone
me really
help
feel bad for
him.
him.
I do feel bad for him.
I do too.
Someone help little Will.
Ah, and which is book
His
three
is the very
Will's?
last
Oh, the
one.
last one. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I look forward to that.
Bruh.
A moment, nothing more spent on Trevor for a second.
Ugh.
What
Little
a
bitch
little
ass bitch.
twat ass, bitch ass, hoe ass. He is very Warner from Legally Blonde coded.
Uh, he's the villain. He's a
He
villain.
is the villain, and I hate him.
Ugh.
That's
Hell was
about,
not enough for Trevor.
yeah, no, it wasn't. He, like, everything he did was inexcusable. He
Yeah.
showed no remorse.
No. Except at the very end, he's like, Michael, I'm your brother. Shut the fuck up. Like,
Oh, and Michael, like, the thing
Michael's better
is,
than me.
Michael, he like hesitated for a second, and Rika was
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, like Michael, like really think about this because you have to live with this forever." And then he was like, "Where was my brother 5 minutes ago?" And
Yeah. And he
then,
was also like,
bam,
and you have to live with this too.
slay.
I will say, like, that was pretty cool of Michael to be like, don't toss his body in the ocean. Let's
Uh,
bring it back to my mother to
yeah.
bury.
And then she was like, "Well, one of them was bound to turn out like
She's
this."
like, that's why he was the spare.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She's like, "Yeah, he was always closer to his dad, so it's fine."
She's like, that guy's fucked up. Um, really quick about Mr. Christ. What a crazy man. I can truly see where they all get it from. And from the second he's like, yeah, I oversee all the Fane's assets and stuff, I'm like, that's sus. Like,
And
you're
it
into some
was.
shady shit, and I know it.
Yeah.
And that's why when Rika took her shit back at the end, he was pissed because he was doing some real shady stuff.
Oh, the way he talked about her too, whenever he was like explaining to Michael, oh no, she belongs to Trevor. Like, ew.
Well, and Michael's like, well, what if Trevor can't get her pregnant? He's like, that's what you're for. And then if you can't, I
Yeah.
guess I can try. And I'm like,
Ah, like
whoa,
she's essentially another daughter to
like she
his
lives in your
family.
house.
Disgust. Disgusting.
Hated it.
Let's give a shout out to Alex. I think she was
My
my favorite
queen,
character in this book.
the voice of reason.
She's so real. And hey, so smart because she
Yeah.
is gonna graduate college loan free because she is putting in work,
She's
baby.
saving that money,
She's saving that
honey.
money. And like, what a good idea when you've got all of these like
Yeah.
rich people around you, why
You
not make
got
a little
it. Flaunt
moolah?
it. Like,
Yeah.
you're about to be set for life, my
And
girl.
whoever that guy was that she had a thing for that was like,
Fuck him.
no, like I won't like you because you're a sex worker. She deserves better.
Yeah, kick him to the curb.
Yeah.
Not worth your time.
I want Alex to have her own book.
She doesn't, unfortunately, but I wish
Yeah.
she did.
That's too bad. I would read that.
I would too. Okay, thoughts and concerns. Man, these kids. Where are their parents?
Where are their parents? And this is
Cheating in the
why
city,
yeah,
drinking herself to death in the basement.
that's the thing is like their parents are actually not behaving much better. I was listening to this book a lot since I was commuting this week, and
I
I
hated the
just,
narrators.
oh, first of all, yes, the narrators
The narrators
did
are
not do it
so
for me this
bad.
book, but I was like laughing out loud. It felt like I was listening to like a comedy show at times because I was like, these are children.
Yeah.
In the flashbacks, and I was like, oh my God. So sometimes it's kind of hard to take books like this seriously. This is not the first book we've read like this where they're super young and acting like that. But maybe it's more realistic than I realized because they're from extremely wealthy and influential families. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I will say the sex scene, like the spicy scenes, were very back and forth for
Mm-hmm.
me. The sauna scene, I liked it a lot.
I did too.
I liked the thrill of it because they were in public and I love that
Yeah.
shit. And but it was also like a very good turning point for Kai and it was like a very intimate and like touching scene.
Yeah.
And I loved that as well. But it's also like the shock value because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, ooh, a threesome.
Yeah.
I love a
But then
threesome.
it's like they kind of hinted that that's kind of how Kai and Michael had been in the past with
Yes.
girls. So it's like they were getting back up to their
They're getting the
old
band back together.
and
On the other hand, though, the other, I think, integral scene that leads up to Rika and Michael like sleeping together for the first time was when they were watching like the scary movie on the couch.
foul.
Which the whole thing in general, I felt like that was a weird toss in, but whatever. But then we like get Miss Chris involved here, and she's
Oh,
on the phone, and Rika's like actively like orgasming, trying to have like a conversation with this poor woman who's a victim at this point. Like,
I could have like
um,
thrown up genuinely.
but the sweet, sweet woman was just like, oh, like surely she's not doing that on the phone right now, you sick hoe. Like,
Yeah. She was like she would never do that to
she's like,
me.
are you okay? Like, you
Sweet,
sick?
sweet Rika. Yeah, that whole thing, that entire
Ugh, it made
scene
me
was really
sick.
jarring because leading up to that, like not only was that upsetting, but leading up to that, Michael and Rika were watching Alien versus Predator, and he at one point was just like, "Oh, you like being scared, it turns you on." Like it just kind of came out of left
Like,
field.
okay. But then they did use it later, and so I think they just needed a way to like introduce that, I suppose. But
Yeah, but I was like, can we not just like
because I did like the whole like mask
sometimes you don't need to
scene in
explicitly
St.
say it.
Killian's.
Yeah, I mean, me too, but like sometimes you don't need to, like, we get it. You don't have to like spell it out. Like, we understand,
Yeah.
show don't tell.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Because that
No.
was jarring and I did not like it.
So yeah, it was just very kind of hit or miss for me. The ending was sweet though.
The ending was sweet, and I'm talking about the ending before the
The
epilogue
first
because
ending.
we'll talk about the epilogue in a second. Um, I thought it was really sweet that he bought St. Killian's to turn into a home for them because it was like it was special to them.
Yeah.
And they both just really genuinely liked the building and the history of the building.
Where are the children going to go?
Yeah, they're gonna have to get up to shit somewhere else. And then the other thing that was really sweet is he proposed with a ring that she stole from her family's store on
How
Devil's Night,
cute.
which that reminded me kind of my engagement ring because like Cole and I as children, as teenagers, we worked in a jewelry
They were
store.
child slaves
Yeah.
and
Yes, we yearned for the mines. Um but like we were in high school and there was like this ring that I really liked and I was like, "Oh, like yeah, put that in the safe because when we get married, like that's the ring I want you to buy. And my boss genuinely did keep it in the safe.
Hmm.
And Cole called like in college and was like, that's still in there, right? And she was like, yeah. And
Yup.
so that's the ring he bought. And so it kind of reminded me of like my own engagement ring. I thought it was sweet.
That is sweet. I really did like epilogue for the most part. The very end, like I don't know, I always like a callback basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't like the back and forth between them. I didn't like how he treated her, but at the very end when he was like, "Do you still have those masks? Like
Yeah.
bring them with you." I was like, "Oh, okay."
And what was really cool about it too is like this whole story is about how Michael and his friends are corrupting Rika. But then at the
Yeah.
end, you learn what she said, quote unquote, corrupted Michael, like inspired him
Yeah.
to do the first Devil's Night. So it's like, oh, they corrupted each other. Like, I like
Like
that.
cute.
And I would say, like, one other thing that I did just like about the structure of this book was the bouncing back and forth from flashback to present at the beginning. I felt like that really kept things like moving there at the beginning,
Hmm.
kept things interesting and kind of like kept it a little bit mysterious because we didn't fully understand why they were doing it. Like, obviously, we knew they thought she betrayed them, but we didn't know like the details. And so it like
Right.
kept things interesting. I liked
Yeah.
that.
So, just talking about some things maybe I didn't like as much. I just felt like there were some weird add-ins that didn't make sense. Like right at the beginning, like them gifting Rika like the Damascus blade.
Hmm.
It's like,
Why?
okay,
And
why?
she's like,
And
well,
she's
I
like, "Oh
always
my
liked
God, I love
blades.
swords." I'm like, "Shut
Yeah.
up."
Like you fence. You're not an actual, like, I
Like
don't,
that's
that's not a
different.
sword.
And like her whole thing, like I know it was just to be like sentimental about her father and stuff, but like let's be so honest, they didn't talk about her dad that much. Like he was not
Yeah.
important at all. And like the whole thing with like her matchbooks and stuff, like first of all, what a weird thing to collect, but
Hmm.
also like why'd you take them to the bar with you?
And they
I
were
don't.
ruined.
And she's like, "Here, listen to them shake and hear the
I think
little
it's
noises
because
they make." I was
the
like,
only thing I can
"Okay,
come up with is because she was like devastated that they got
I
waterlogged and
guess."
she just like couldn't set it down after that. I don't know.
She was, I mean, that was probably traumatizing.
That bar scene, though, in general was really cringy because at this point,
Yeah.
is when they were playing this little game where she was like saying what song people are. It went on for so long.
And
He was
also,
like, what song
why?
is that person? What song is that person?
Also, we didn't have to do Diana like that, girl. Like you
Mm-mm.
did not have to do that.
She didn't know. She thought you were dating Trevor. And
Yeah,
she was
everyone
like,
thinks you're dating Trevor.
men don't belong to you. Like, bitch, she thought he was single. Give her a break.
Like, Jesus Christ, they used to date. Like, chill
Yeah,
out.
like she's just saying hi and flirting with him. And
God.
then what also like really was cringy about the like what song are they is the whole point of it was of course leading up to Michael being like what song am I? And then she didn't even pick a song for
She
him.
just listed
Instead,
bands.
she listed like 30 bands and I was like, "Oh my God."
And you know what? On the topic of this, really quick, the song choices. So I liked the song choices, don't get me wrong. There's no way Rika's listening to any of that. There's
Mm-mm.
no way. And like the only reason she would is because Michael and his friends listened to that.
Yeah. And it's funny because she was like making fun of the teenage or I guess they probably weren't teenagers if they were at a bar. She was making fun of the young people playing pool and she was like, "Oh yeah, they're closeted Taylor Swift fans." Bitch, shut the fuck
You're a
up.
Taylor Swift
You're a
fan.
Taylor Swift fan.
Let's be for real.
Yeah, she just was like very pick me at times. And also, like, okay, so the song choices throughout the book. There were times that that also got to me because not only was it like listing whatever song was playing, sometimes it was what were their outfits? What were they eating? I was just like, oh my God, I don't care.
I do not
I
care.
truly do not care. And it felt like it was taking me out of the moment. The only time I did like it was when she went into that bar to confront Miles and his girlfriend,
Yes.
and it was the song title was Corrupt, and I was like, okay,
And that
yeah,
was
I
a
get
pretty
it.
badass scene. I did like that. That was cool.
Yeah, I
One
liked
instance
that.
where Rika was dope,
She
girl.
did almost get her ass handed to
She
her. I
did. We were not prepared for the girlfriend to come in there. Um, one more thing, Miss Penelope. I would like to start a drinking game. for how many times the word cock was used in this book because
A
it
lot.
was absurd. Like we were just taught. I think that was like a personal goal for her.
So it kind of reminds me of like in my ninth grade biology class. Um,
Oh,
so my particular biology teacher, for some reason, it felt like she was always using sperm cells as an example. And this is ninth
oh,
graders.
yeah.
Okay. This is ninth graders. So part of me wonders if like she was trying to get a little rise out of the
She
class.
just
I
wanted
don't
like a
know.
little giggle out of it.
I don't know, but like, yeah, her example always came back to sperm cells. So yeah, there was at least one class period where it was like we tallied how many times she said the word sperm. And it's like we were not like this was not a health class. We were not talking about reproduction. This like we were talking about it as a cell. So it's not
Yeah.
like it was inappropriate, but it was,
Yeah, like she wasn't
you
just
could pick
throwing
a
that word out there.
different example, I think, because it happened enough that the students were like, yeah, let's tally how many times she says it today. Like that's too
Like
much.
noticeable.
Yeah, too much. And then another thing is,
Anyway,
anyways, another thing is like we talked about this with Damon, but Damon was not the only character who said the inappropriate thing about minors because at Michael, like in his chapter at one point, he was like, yeah, Damon went to prison because unfortunately minors can't give consent in the eyes of the law. I was like,
like bummer.
pardon? What the fuck?
Yeah, just like the really mature themes with like the really young people. And I feel like you do see it way more in like books about like the upper class than you do
Yeah,
anywhere else.
which is interesting.
It is interesting. And maybe it's just, I don't know, they're treated more mature by their families or something. I'm sure. It's just
Or they're just left to their own devices, I guess.
maybe, I don't know. But it's like these were young people who should not be doing all that. And maybe it's just because we were like really sheltered for the
Yeah,
most
I
part.
guess
I don't
we
know.
were.
I didn't
So,
feel like I was overly sheltered, but
yeah. I mean, God,
I
maybe we
guess I
were now.
was.
Also, congratulations, Penelope. Little Monster is actually worse than Little One.
Yeah.
So, good job. Um, the scene where she's like in her youth culture lecture and arguing with the professor gave me hives. That was really
Oh my
embarrassing.
God, I know.
And he was like, "Whoa, kids these days." First of all, why is he teaching a youth culture class if he hates the youths? That
Right.
doesn't
Also, what
make
even
sense.
is that?
I don't know, like a sociology class, but like seriously, I cannot think of a time when a professor would act like that. Like you wouldn't
Yeah.
teach a class like that and then be like, "And kids these days." Like, no.
Like, are you on like a fucking power trip because you're a professor? I don't know.
Mm-mm.
The whole thing, like, again, it was like, oh yeah, I forgot we mentioned she was in college. Better show her in a college class. Like,
Yeah, no, that is so true. And I think that made it even
okay.
more embarrassing. Oh, this is something that I forgot to write down. I thought of it earlier and I don't want to forget to say it now that it just popped back into my mind. But something that I also like wish that we got more of is it whenever she was being shown the apartment and the guy was like, "Yeah, we messed up. So here's this penthouse for you."
Yeah.
And he was like, there is another entrance, so make sure you keep that locked, just so you know it's like an emergency exit or whatever.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, like they're gonna mess with her a lot. Like they're gonna sneak into her apartment, like leave
Hmm.
things. But no, there was like one scene where she went into that corridor.
Yeah.
And that's also how Trevor or Damon got in to get her whenever Trevor
Right.
was there. But I was like, no, they're gonna use that to like repeatedly mess with her.
Yeah.
And then they didn't, and I was disappointed.
You know, in terms of like, besides stealing her money and setting her house on fire and also kidnapping her mom, their pranks were like pretty tame.
Wait, because the things you just listed, I feel like cancel out anything tame that they did. What were the tame ones?
Like pranking her, like showing up in her class and like
Okay. And then threatening to murder her mom.
filling her at
You
with
know,
Tom, Hunter Bailey's,
uh-huh.
whatever. Fucking got her.
Oh my God. None of it was tame.
It was tame. It was actually all pretty bad.
I hate to break it to you. Besides the
Um,
horrible, horrible, terrible
besides all the
crimes.
crimes they've committed, um,
Oh,
I don't know
the
what else.
other thing I was going to say about the epilogue, okay, because I mostly hated the epilogue, and here's why. There was a flashback to when they were really young, 13 and 16. In this flashback, there's like a dog that's been hit by a car. He literally puts it out of its misery by strangling it to death.
To death.
And we did not need to write that. It served no purpose.
I didn't
No
like it.
purpose. Like zero purpose. And I cannot stress that enough.
And then he's like, I gotta go bury this dog and reflect on why I'm so mean to people and why I pushed away my loved ones. And it's like, I feel like you could have gone through that little self-reflection journey without murdering a dog.
Yeah, I just feel like that was a wild thing to write.
Yeah,
And I can't
I didn't like
condone
it.
it. Um Anyways, those are kind of my thoughts and concerns.
Yeah, same. We do have a couple of questions.
Yeah, so my first question is, okay, so like we said, this book is mostly about young people, like in the flashbacks. Rika's in college. They are, or sorry, she's in high school. They are in college, but like recently graduated high
Yeah,
school and
like
are
three
hanging out
years
with
separated.
mostly high schoolers, which is, I mean, that's awkward in
That's
itself.
weird.
But I wanted to ask you, like, what is the most mischief you ever got up as like a high schooler and college student age person? And how does it compare to the buck wild shit they were doing in this book?
Yeah, no, this made me seem like a fairly boring person. I mean, like, I don't feel like I was doing anything outrageously crazy besides like maybe sneaking out a few times and,
Yeah, which is
doing
like
some light
normal.
drugs, but
Yeah, also normal.
yeah, nothing like absurd. Certainly I wasn't committing that many crimes.
No, like I was not vandalizing anything.
We
I
broke
was
into
not
a
committing
school one
arson.
time, but
You know what? That's also light
I didn't
work.
actually break into a school just for legal reasons.
For legal
Um,
reasons, this is a lie. I'm a liar.
I didn't do that.
Um, yeah, I was trying to think like what's the stuff I got up to? Like, yeah, again, maybe snuck out once or twice. There was like a time that I lied to my friend's parents about her seeing her boyfriend that night. Like I had taken her to go see her boyfriend that they didn't approve of. And oh my God, when they flat out asked me if we went there, I was like, no.
And then she cried.
And no, I didn't. I felt so proud of myself. They probably knew I was lying, but I did. I lied straight to their face. That's about it. I did partake in
Um,
light underage drinking. We're talking like one Mike's Hard Lemonade.
I did drink underage. I feel like that's typical.
Yeah. Like none of,
Nothing
I
crazy.
was not harming people. I was not destroying
No.
property. Like, but then I guess, do you think that there were some of our peers out there that were genuinely doing?
Yes. Yes, I do. Because, like, and I worked with some of them because they would
Okay.
tell me, I'd be like, wow, that's fucking crazy. You're gonna go to jail. And then they did it. And I'm like, okay, maybe you can actually get away with a lot of things.
Man,
Um,
and not me. If I
but
did it,
not
I'd get
me. No,
caught.
I would go to prison immediately.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I know for sure. And you know what's so funny? It was people who were rich.
Yeah, okay.
Which
That
does lead
explains it
me
then.
into my next question. Do you think people who are just like absurdly ungodly rich, like truly live this life? Because like we have this book and we have Gossip Girl and we have like a few other books and shows that kind of highlight the lives of like the upper class.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's all about the same. So like, do you think that's like happening for
Like what
real?
they actually do.
Yeah,
I feel like
to this
it
extent.
is because do you recall our little like episode where we talked about like secret societies
That's
and
actually
in
exactly what I
Ivy
was
League
just thinking
schools?
of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think they do because I think they get bored. Like you can have so much money and so much privilege and so
Yeah,
much power that you get bored with it and you're like, how am I going to make my life more exciting? What I'm
that's
going to
fair.
do is I'm going to be an absolute menace to society and ruin other people's day because I'm bored and I'm spoiled and I want to act out. And I think that genuinely happens.
Yeah, I agree. That wraps up the first book in this series. Starting off strong. We are, not even partially done with it. There's a lot of books in this series.
Yeah, but it's going to carry us through the spooky season. I'm very excited. Join us next week as we do a mini-sode discussing Headless Horseman by Siggy Shade. It is a very short story, and again,
Monster romance.
monster romance. Yes, so do check your content warnings or whatever if this isn't for you. I understand. But yeah, that's what we're doing
And
next week.
then the week after that, we are going to be discussing the second book in the Devil's Night series, Hideaway by Penelope Douglas, and this is going to follow Kai's story.
And I'm excited because I like him. He's
I
actually
do
the
too.
only one I do like, I
I
think.
do like him.
Oh, and I do feel bad for Will. I think I kind of like him too.
Yeah, his
Um,
book is good too.
yeah, okay, I'm excited for those then. Go ahead and get started on Headless Horseman and Hideaway if you haven't already. We'll talk to you next time, and as always,
Let's get lit.